Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Rachel, aka the Nail Therapist, here on YouTube. Today we're going to look at a client who came in after she had already been treated with lasers for a nail fungus. And we're going to look at her nail condition and discuss exactly what's going on and what we're going to do in order to overcome it. So I hope you enjoy. So like I mentioned earlier, we are looking at a client who has a long-standing fungal infection on most of her toenails. She went to a podiatrist and got the laser treatment for the nail fungus on both of her feet, multiple treatments, and was given a topical for whatever remnant was left. And so you'll see in this great toenail, there is something crazy going on. It looks like the top few layers of the nail have completely detached, and you can see that where the lighter nail color is, sort of halfway back. It'll refocus here in a second. There we go. And so when you see the light coloration underneath the nail, it generally means that there's air underneath the nail, so there's lifting somewhere. And so what I'm trying to do here is just trim back as much as I can of that loose nail, because one, we don't want it to catch on anything and tear, but two, we want to expose where the problem is and get to those underlying layers and see what we can do to whittle it down a little bit and really figure out what is going on. So you can see on these third and fourth toenails on the edges there, on the free edge, it has thickening as well and some lifting. So I'm suspecting that there is still some fungal involvement on those toes as well. And this last toenail is thick. Not really sure if there's fungus there or not. Her day job is a hay farmer, so she's out with horses all the time. She's got heavy boots on. They're squishing her toes. There's lots of stepping on her feet with the horses, so there's been lots of past trauma on her toenails, and so some of the thickening is due to that as well. So we're not entirely sure how much fungus is actually left, but the third and fourth toes look like they might have something going on. So after pushing back the cuticles, I'm going to now go in with my Safety Top Tapered Barrel Carbide bit from Erica's ATA, and I'm going to reduce the thickness of the nail and try and make it one smooth, solid piece. So this part takes a little bit of time because I go very, very gently, a little bit at a time, and I don't want to catch the nail that's lifted and tear it or cause the client any discomfort. So you're going to see I'm going to go very, very slowly taking this down. Those black spots that you might see right there underneath the nail plate are just what we call splinter hemorrhages. They're just little broken capillaries that is almost like a blood blister, but very, very tiny, stuck underneath the nail. She did tell me that her podiatrist said that the fungus was dead, although from what I understand, they did not do a clipping at the end of treatment to have it cultured. So I think she's going off of just visually inspecting her nail. I'm not convinced that's the case, but I'm not a doctor, so I don't know for sure. And of course, doctors aren't always 100% right. So we're just going to go with maybe, maybe not. But you can see on this nail, the color of the nail is different at the tip versus at the cuticle where the healthier nail is coming in. And this this client liked to call it her baleen because it's almost like striated, and it breaks apart almost in long, stringy sections. So kind of like what you would imagine baleen would look like if you were up close and personal with it. And it doesn't have the texture of nail, and it doesn't have the texture of skin. It's almost like a combination of both, and it's what podiatrists have labeled as ruin appearance. I found this in the literature just recently, and it happens with nails that have total dystrophic onychomycosis, which she doesn't necessarily because her whole nail isn't destroyed, but it's similar in appearance to what you would see on a totally dystrophic nail. And so later on, as I get further and further down, you'll see exactly what happens. So stay tuned. It's pretty interesting. So when nails are this involved with fungus, fungal infections, it's important to trim away as much of the affected nail as you can. So whatever topical you end up using, it can get further into the affected area. Her podiatrist told her she didn't need to do that, but she and I both discussed it and agreed that we needed to remove as much of the nail as possible because it had been this way for months, and the cream that she was using didn't seem to be penetrating, which makes sense because these top layers are fully keratinized. They're hard, they feel normal, but the problem is underneath that. It's not the top layers, it's underneath the nail where the skin has sort of become hyperkeratinized and the nail is infected. And so we got the nail bed and the nail plate sort of doing their own thing with the fungus. So that's why I keep going back to smoothing this out more and more and more, because I'm still on a very hard surface right here, and then towards the center it's starting to get a little bit more soft and spongy. If you are working on clients who have fungal nails, or you yourself have a fungal nail, don't feel like you have to take down as much of the nail as I do. You can get away with doing a little bit less if you are uncomfortable taking down the nail even further. The main goal here is to just expose the part of the nail that seems to have the active infection. And if it's not easily getting removed or crumbling off, then it's okay to just let it go and use whatever topical that you want and see how that ends up working out. I just tend to be a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, but I tend to be a little bit more aggressive because I know the more you can take off in the beginning, the faster the recovery will be. On this one and the fourth one, I'm just going to do a little bit of thinning out towards the tip where it's starting to thicken, but I'm not going to reduce it so far that it gets super thin. I want it to sort of be a natural, more normalized, homogeneous thickness across the board. Sometimes if the client has really thick, hard calluses on their toes or on the bottom of their feet, I'll use the carbide bits to take down a bunch of the layers before I do the foot soak and the regular foot filing, just so that it's a little bit more time efficient. This foot tells a similar story, though it is not as bad. You can tell on the first toe there's that thickness again at the tip with some lifting and peeling of the top few layers. Along with the second toe, there's some lifting, and that pinky toe is nice and thick like the other one. Again, I think the pinky toes are more thick because of just trauma and just being rubbed a lot and squished a lot in her boots. Just like the other foot, the second toe has a corn forming on the inside border of the toe there from, again, all the friction that it feels when pressed up against the great toe inside her boots. So what is the plan of care here? The plan here is to reduce the thickness of all the thickened nails and try to reduce the fungal involvement, the nail plate where there's fungal involvement, if that's in fact what's going on. And then we're going to see each other about once every 6 weeks or so to maintain as the new nail keeps growing in. And she's going to use the topical that I have here at the studio and see if that is any more effective than her topical that the doctor gave her, which doesn't seem to be doing much of anything. The same thing is happening on this nail that's happening on the other nail. There's separation of a few of those top layers of the nail, and then there's this thickness of the underlying nail that's sort of a mixture of skin and nail. So with the topical that she's going to use, it's going to help to soften the nail plate and hopefully widen it a little bit so it's not so curled inward. As you can see on the left-hand side there, where my thumb is, it sort of curls around. So we're going to hopefully see a correction in the borders of the nail as well as the coloration of the nail. Sometimes I like to go across the top of the nail plate with the hand file just because I can get a little bit more of the lifted nail. I can control the pressure a little bit better when I'm trying to smooth out that lifted nail plate that's sort of still peeling up a little bit. Okay, back to this side. It's been soaking for a few minutes, so we're just going to clean up some of the debris. And you can see the color a lot better now after the nail has become more translucent from the soaking in the water. There's that pink, nice, healthy nail at the back where the cuticle is, and then it turns into like a yellowy color, creamy color, and then there's like almost like a greenish black is happening at the tip there. So we know that's not healthy. What is it? We don't know, but it's not healthy. Okay, and I'm going very gently across the tip here, making sure that I'm not going to catch any live skin because it is super hard to discern between her live skin and what is not live. So I'm just taking a little tiny bit at a time. we got to a layer where it just crumbled underneath there. So there was one layer of nail sort of holding it together, and now it's just this very soft, stringy, almost sinewy tissue. And so I'm not going to mess with that anymore, but I'm just poking around, asking her if this hurts, is it tender, but she's saying no, she doesn't have any discomfort, but like we can tell it's very close to live skin, so we're not going to do anything left over there except trim maybe around it, and then we'll work a little bit off to the left where that green area is still. Typically, you can pretty much guess that there's still fungus involved if you see almost like stripes of yellow or green coming into the nail, especially from the distal edge, from the free edge. So it generally attacks the nail from a break in the skin where the hyponychium meets the nail plate and then works its way inward in sort of like a line, if you will, a striation, they call it. So you can see there's striation still present in the tissue, in the nail plate. And here's like this hard ball of something, almost like a pebble of some sort that was stuck inside the nail tissue. We got that removed, and we can just go ahead and try and remove some more of this debris that's stuck in here. You can see as I'm gently tugging, some of the tissue almost looks like saran wrap. It's so thin. And so, yeah, like I didn't want to do too much with over there. Here I'm just discussing with her where the line of healthy nail is versus unhealthy nail, and just telling her what the prognosis looks like as far as and what we're going to be doing in order to help heal the nail. Believe it or not, even with all of that trimming back, the nail still is hard on the tip there, except for that very small spot where it's extra thin. So this is not hurting her at all. She was not in any discomfort, and I'm just trying to make the nail look straight across. So now I'm using the tapered barrel diamond bit to gently remove any jagged edges, any dry skin around the area, and try and smooth it out a little bit more because the nail file and the carbide are a little bit rougher, and this is just going to help smooth everything out a little bit better. I'm really sorry about the blurriness, guys. I can't always pay attention to what my camera is doing while I'm working, and so anytime my hand moves in front of the foot, it focuses on the closest object, and sometimes it doesn't refocus for a little while, so I apologize. If you are someone who is interested in taking my upcoming nail fungus course that I'm creating, and you've been waiting patiently for that to come available, thank you for waiting. It's been a very busy season. I didn't expect it to be so busy, but it has been, and I just have not had the time to sit and focus on it for the straight hours that I need to. I am taking some time off next week to really try and bust some of it out, but there's still a long way to go, so I may not be getting it out until the summertime, it looks like. It's just my schedule at work has been super busy, which is awesome. I'm super grateful for that. And then I've got 3 kids, and they all have appointments, and they all have activities, and I'm also married, and I've got to prioritize those things. So as much as I would love to just sit and work on it, I don't always have the time or the energy to do that. But thank you for your patience. And if you are interested in signing up to get on the wait list for whenever it first becomes available, go to my, what do you call it? My profile, and in the link tree, there's a link in the profile for my upcoming course. So I'd love to see you there, and I'm looking forward to putting it out. Just have to get myself organized or clone myself or something. It's only when I rewatch these videos and I'm doing these recordings that I realize how OCD I really am. I swear to God, I could just stay on the same toenail for like an hour and not be satisfied. But I think that's why people come back to see me over and over again, because I'm the only one who does that. I digress. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watched today. The before and after pictures are coming up. I'm skipping over the foot filing and the massage portion, and I just wanted to get to the before and afters for you. So it's been a long video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again on another video coming up shortly. I have a couple of days to do some editing, so I think I'm going to be able to put another one out within the next week. Until then, take care. I'll see you then.